Are back. Triple P, Paul Pickett Podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Paul Pickett, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. Today, I'm going to do an interview with Justin Logan from a band called STUNNA. And before we do that, let me go ahead and punch in one of our sponsors.
Looking for music marketing and promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
That's right. You heard the beautiful lady. I don't need to say anymore. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, Justin?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Paul.
No problem. Let's start with a couple of the basics. How y'all come up with the name STUNNA?
It's kind of based around the character that the point of view that the songs are all written from. So we, more or less just kind of naming a band is really like maybe one of the hardest things to do, and it's kind of arbitrary in some ways. So we just kept kind of working on brainstorming things around, the concept of the album and everything, and then sort of named it mostly after the album was written and everything too. So
y'all basically came up with your name after you came up with a whole album. Mm-hmm. And that's typically a different process, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. This isn't my first band though. So like, I know how difficult it can be to get the branding right if you don't know what your content is going to be, So we had 2 years during the pandemic to really kind of take our time and do things the way we wanted to. So that's kind of a luxury in a way.
Don't you? Me personally, I think rock bands have like some of the best names for musicians, period. Like just the names they come up with.
Yeah, like Slash or The Edge, things like that. It's really cool.
I've never really interviewed a band or like a singer from a band. So how do you get to the point of being passionate about playing an instrument first and foremost? I've never really been passionate about that.
Sure. So it's probably just like anything else. For me, it was sort of compulsory. I started playing instruments when I was 5, and I play like 20 instruments. So it's just something that I've always been immersed in, and something that's always been around me between my family or my friends and everything. So, but playing an instrument and becoming like an expert at an instrument are two different things entirely. Yeah. So at a certain point, you either just become obsessed with it or your friends are based around it. Those are the things that happen genuinely. But yeah, so it's just a journey, man.
It's a discipline, I would think too. I think it's not for non-disciplined people to try to learn how to play a guitar or flute or even the drums. Like,
yeah, you got to be okay at sucking at something for a little while.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it'll just start clicking. One day you'll be able to play things you never thought possible. So it's really a perseverance thing. Yeah.
Do all like people who play instruments, even like guitars, y'all all have to like read actual music, right? Opposed to like rappers, we just get beats and we just write rhymes and rap over them. We don't have to necessarily read music. Y'all all have to read music, right?
Not necessarily. I can't read music, but I rarely do. So what I would say is like it's the same as that flow state you get into, if you're freestyling or something like that. It's similar to that. It's just like it's a different set of muscles that you're doing it with. You know what I mean?
So when you come up with a song with a guitar, you don't never really have to read music. You just basically come up with some kind of rhythm in your head.
Yeah,
just try to play it on your guitar.
Yeah, you know how like certain words sound good to say, and like the order you say them in, all of that matters a lot. Like how they just literally sound. It's kind of the same thing with instruments, where like if it sounds good to my ear and if it sounds good to my mind's ear, then that's what you're going for. So
now maybe you could speak for the band members and yourself on this. Like when you start playing the guitar, are all y'all trying to be lead singers?
No,
as well.
No,
Like,
well,
where
so
does that point come about where like you decide, okay, now I'm playing the guitar, but I could also be the lead singer?
I think it's like what the arrangement needs. So we try to keep the song at the center of everything and figure out how can we best express or convey the emotions that we're trying to put forward in this song, right? And so whatever needs to handle the melody at that time, and everything else just takes a back seat to that. So sometimes that's a drum, sometimes that's the bass even, but most generally in pop music today, in popular music at least, it's the vocal centric thing. So
Mhm.
so we just kind of pass it around based on the arrangement usually.
Now, when I came up in the 80s and I was listening to like Def Leppard, Motley Crue, and stuff, like I noticed like all the band members would basically, you had the lead singer, but all the band members were kind of like ad-libbing and things of that nature. Is that still a heavy thing with band members?
It is in a lot of genres. It depends on what you're looking at. There's a lot of stuff that's really scripted, but I have a blues trio that I used to go around with, and we would improvise everything we did. And so it just varies, based on the genre and what your specific show is set up like.
Yeah. Now, how hard is it finding like 3 or 4 people on the same page?
Impossible.
It's
It's
impossible.
That's maybe the hardest part of the whole thing, man, is just, like the logistics of it all, getting the scheduling right and people that care the same amount that you do. That's the
Yeah,
hardest
that's
part.
the biggest part, right?
Hmm.
When you start adding more members and more members, like the it's something I always talk about when people talk about quality in the workplace. They always never bring up a quality of effort. Like
Hmm.
we all gotta want the same for it to really work. Now you said
Yes.
this is your second band.
Yes, maybe so. I've toured with a lot of bands and done a lot of different, things like that. So this is my second project that I've been at the helm of, I would say. So I usually have been like a hired gun in the past, just somebody needs a guitar player or somebody needs a drummer or
Okay.
something like that. So this is my second soiree as being the front man.
Have you ever done cover music
Yeah, when we played those 3-hour bar gigs back in the day, I used to
back in the
play some
days?
covers. Yeah. Hmm.
That's like the beauty of a band, right? A rock band is that y'all can just even when y'all don't got your own original content, you can just do cover music and still get gigs.
Get some
Like,
money. Hmm.
and rappers, it's so frowned on. Like, if you do cover
Yeah.
music, it's like,
People think you're
no.
doing karaoke.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, well, that's not the same.
And it's like, oh, you ain't write your rhymes, you ain't do this. And even today, when you can still, like, rappers could release cover music if they want, like on a
Sure. You get a
Spotify, but
mechanical
they
license and
they
whatever.
don't do it. They don't do it still,
I
you
think
know?
I think that that's probably like a genre kind of cultural thing within that genre. I produce quite a bit of hip hop too, and like my favorite thing to do
Yeah, I
is to
noticed that in your bio. Yeah.
yeah. So I love to introduce hip hop artists to the live band experience, right? Like that
I love
combo
that.
is so
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. I think like Roots, that's what makes like I love the Roots because they
Hmm.
just give you this different feel that you don't get with nobody else in hip hop. And I think Kendrick Lamar's done that before, if I'm
Yeah,
not
Anderson Paak
mistaken.
is one of my favorites, man.
Anderson, oh, love Anderson Pop. I think that's a missing element in hip hop that needs to be brought in more. And I know it costs more like on the touring aspect, to bring a band on the road and whatnot
Mhm.
for hip hop. But the shows are just so much
It's
better
engaging,
than
man.
somebody just getting up there and just rapping on stage. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you.
And that's why you see the guys at the highest level that are doing it most of the time when they're touring, it's with a band somewhere, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see. I went and saw Wiz Khalifa not too long ago, and even
Love
he
them.
had a band with him, bro. And I was like, okay, this is like
Okay.
this top level is different.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's the key word you just said. When you add that band, you're putting yourself at that top level. It takes it to a top level opposed to just a DJ, a microphone,
And a
and a
hype man,
rapper.
maybe. Hmm.
And as much as I love hip hop, I've always thought doo-wop was like the most organic music ever to me because I have a friend, his dad sung bass for the original Heartbeats, and like everybody in the group is the instrument.
Hmm.
and whatnot. I was looking at a video you had. I want to get into this one, American Dream. I don't know how old it is.
It just came out maybe, I don't know. We just put that out on our first record in November, but I don't know how long, old that video is.
What's the American Dream to you?
That song, it's kind of ironic, really, because that song has a commentary on inequality in America, especially wealth inequality in America. So, Stun is definitely not a political band, but
Okay.
that was one of the first songs we wrote around the project, and I was pretty pissed off at the way that things have been trending in this country. You know, I'm not really an equality of outcomes person, but I am like
I'm
an
the same way.
equality
I'm the
of
same way.
equality
Yeah.
of opportunity is
Yeah.
something that we
Yeah.
can
We
do.
agree. We agree.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just examining, you know, the landscape of this country and the divides that are happening and everything, and trying to figure out if there was a way to see some connective tissue in any of that, you know, and sort out if we're all mad at the same thing, we're still together. You know what I mean? So it's like just trying to
No,
figure
you're
out
right.
a way.
I like that. I might have to post that on Facebook. That makes a lot of sense. If we're all mad at the same thing, we're still together because we're all mad at the same thing. Now, even though you say the song was a political song, has anybody politicized it? You know, because even though you don't make something political, everything is politicized nowadays. They politicize sports. Hollywood is so politicized with all the movies. And it scares me with this censorship because I don't want it to roll over into the music at all.
I can't say that I would care if somebody tries to do something like that to my music, then they can do that. I don't care. It's not going to affect me. I love to have a hater, bro. It makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be. But my other thing is like, I'm not going to ever write music out of a place of fear. And if I'm afraid to say
I love
something,
that.
you know what I
I
mean?
love
It's
that.
like my voice isn't going to get taken out by somebody. Now it may cause me to be heard less, but that's not going to make me less authentic. You know what I mean?
I like that. I like that. Do you think like, because I know a cat like Luke fought hard against the Supreme Court for this whole censorship. Do you think it's gonna flood over into the music when they're censoring people like Kanye for things that he's saying outside of the music?
It looks like it.
I mean, they've censored him like all his business dealings. I don't know why they would like just say, "Oh, we're gonna stop it," not at the music. We're still gonna let him make a lot of money off of music. I don't like where it's going with that because music is like, if you start censoring music, you got to start censoring everything. Comedy, you got to censor art, like just paintings and stuff like that.
And art exists at the cutting edge of culture. So whatever the brand new thing that's happening, that's where art is made, And if you start taking away our ability to live on that cutting edge and watering it down, then first of all, you're going to have a boring ass population. Second, you're going to get, the destruction of people's integrity and what makes them really artists. I think it's important, like you set up a business and you have an LLC that separates you from the liability for all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that I have like a similar compartmentalization when I do art. Like I listen to Michael Jackson records all the time, man. And like
Love
that guy
him,
in person, who knows? I didn't know him personally, but the stories. And so, but that doesn't affect my ability to listen to his art and to appreciate,
and a lot of people feel that same way about R. Kelly too.
Yeah.
Like, cause he made,
what he did in his private time.
And to be fair, like that was a common thing in Roman and Greek history, all that stuff. It's just now that we look at things, we just stray I'm a laws of nature guy, and I just think we stray so far from our animalistic natures. We just try to act like we're just getting more civil and more civil and more civil and more civil. And we're just basically taking away everything that's natural to who we are, Yeah. You had this performance. Was it a local news station?
Yeah. That was on.
Now, how'd you set that up?
I reached out to them through a mutual friend. I had met somebody. I go to things and network as much as I possibly can. That's the name of the game.
Like for other artists, like how would they, like go about getting on like a local news, their local news network like that?
So the best thing to do is to to either meet one of their sales reps out in the wild or to figure out who that is yourself and get
Uh-huh.
a hold of them and figure out if they have like a local feature. Sometimes you got to pay to be on there. Sometimes you don't. It
Okay.
just depends. But like, if you develop a relationship with the salespeople that are selling those spots, which they all are,
Like
every
the
new
ad
station.
sales reps?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they'll have some 20-something-year-old kid doing it usually, but it's good to build those relationships and they know people too. So that's my thing.
Now, you had to do that without the band. They weren't able to get there at that
Yeah,
time?
at the time I was living in about 4 hours away from the rest of the guys, and so
Okay.
that happened to take place on a day when they just couldn't make it over there. So
Does that ever cause friction?
uh, I wouldn't say friction so much as just like difficulties in logistics. It can be hard to maintain a creative momentum if you don't get to at least play once a week with each other. So
Yeah, yeah. And typically when you do these solo joints like that and they can't make it, you always do acoustic?
yeah, usually. I mean, I've
Usually?
tried to
Okay.
do backing tracks and stuff before, but I like to make all the noise that I can myself. I think it makes it more authentic kind of feeling for my sound specifically.
What you mean, like acoustic? You think acoustic's more authentic?
Yeah, an
Yeah,
electric
I do
guitar
too.
it just sounds weird by itself in a voice to me.
Yeah, I think acoustic, when you're just by yourself, acoustic is just as organic as it really gets, right?
Yeah, and it makes more percussive noise, so it's easier to like put a little bit more out in the soundscape that way.
Okay, we actually just got, there's a liquor I promote. We just actually got put out there in Oklahoma recently. It's called Dizzle Brand. What's life like out in Oklahoma, aka Soonerland?
It's what people think it is, man. It's Wild West out here.
So it is what we think it is. I mean, because when
I
I
mean, I'm
think
not
of
riding
these,
horses to Walmart or nothing, but you know what
I
I mean?
get that. Nah. But like, I thought Alabama was what I thought it was, and it's not really what I thought it was. So Oklahoma is really what we think it is.
There's a lot of art that comes out of this place. I think
Yeah.
that there's a parallel between how much art comes from a place and how difficult it is to live there. So,
Yeah.
Oklahoma definitely has its fair share of like some bad things, but it's got a lot of good, man. It's got great people here. And the art scene is popping a little bit in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. It's getting there.
Is that where you're at in Tulsa right now?
I'm closer to Oklahoma City.
It says the band is from Ada,
Ada.
Oklahoma. How big of a, that sounds like a little town.
Yeah, it's about 15,000 people.
Okay,
Blake Shelton's from here.
that's like the town next to Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's called Hope Mills, and it's like they literally don't want to call themselves Fayetteville, but they're pretty much part of Fayetteville. They only got like
well,
14,000 people and whatnot. Because I'm from a military town, and so we kind of got like a lot of military mindset, and whatnot. We actually live under the mindset of knowing that if the enemy was going to drop the bomb, this would be the first city to really go. Strategically, it'd be the smartest thing to go.
That's
So
how we
y'all
feel about OKC too, because they got a big Air Force base up there.
Oh, y'all got a big Air Force base out there. Okay. Is there any big artists out of Oklahoma that I don't know about?
I mean, my favorite Okie artists are probably like Kings of Leon. They're really
Okay,
good.
they're from there. Okay.
Yeah, they're from Tallahena. So their dad was a traveling.
And that's a small town?
Yeah, it's real small. There's a funny documentary about it, actually. It's like a family reunion they go to, and everybody looks exactly like you think they do. It's pretty good.
And how old are you actually?
I'm 32.
You're 32. And how long you been making music?
25 years probably.
25 years. So you've been like you were doing the instrument thing since you were a little kid, you said, right?
And your family makes instruments. So
so he makes instruments. And that's what I was trying to get down to. It's like parents don't really buy their kids instruments like they used to back in the days, or really try to get their kids into playing instruments. I remember when I went to high school, it's like you always had these kids where their parents is renting instruments and whatnot. So your father makes instruments from like by hand?
Yeah. So my papa, my mom's dad, he was really into like Appalachian instruments like the dulcimer and the banjo, and it just so happens the dulcimer is a real easy instrument to learn for a kiddo.
Yeah.
So I started that when I was about 5, and then drums when I was 8, guitar when I was 12. And the reason for that is because of like you're getting at the availability of the instruments, right?
Yeah.
Like my ability to get my hands on them and get familiar with them while my brain is still able to take in so much information. I think that was a really vital part of me getting a successful instrumental career.
And
So
did your father play the instruments too, or just make them?
my papa made and played all of them. He was a really good musician, and he exposed me to incredible professional musicians at a very young age. So I got to see how things worked, from the jump.
You never got into the instrument making aspect of it?
I have recently a little bit, but I was always just obsessed with playing music so much
Playing
that that's
music.
all I ever did. I mean, I
Yeah.
never even thought about woodworking until this year.
So you're basically like me. Where would your life be without music?
I'm an obsessive man. That's all I do.
I mean,
So,
what do you think you would be doing if you weren't into music?
maybe maybe an engineer.
I'd probably be dead or in jail.
Yeah,
I
mean,
I
well,
couldn't
that's the real
imagine me
talk.
doing anything
Yeah,
else. I
there's
really
no way.
couldn't.
That's
It's like I
everything.
wasn't tall enough to make it on basketball. I wasn't big enough or fast enough for football. I ran track, but I ran long distance, and it wasn't like,
And you can't
you
make no
know,
money after you're in your 30s at that point.
yeah,
It's like, no,
yeah.
that's all that's ever been for me. It's never been a question of what I was gonna do. It's just how's it gonna come together has always been my question.
So what's the goals of the band? Everybody always like, I want to get a record deal, but like
I don't want a record deal.
staying independent
You make more money
and
that way.
actually having a certain amount of fans, it just seems like the most beautiful thing in the music business, especially when you're talking about you bring in labels.
That's where you get all
You
your
don't
money.
control all the music being put out there. They could tell you, oh, you can't release music. They try to push these singles over
That's a
certain
shelf you and take
singles.
your whole career from you.
They try to take over your masters from day one. They just, and then with the 360 deals, it's like
Those
there's
are
certain
bad deals.
aspects they don't even invest into
No.
that they're getting paid profits back on.
Those
It's
are
like,
loans. Those are not record
yeah,
deals. Those are loans. I think the longer you can wait to sign a deal, if at all, the better. I have
yeah,
some friends that are
yeah.
really, really successful in music, and these guys sell like $400,000 worth of merch every 10 days. You know what I mean? Like they're popping on the music thing, and they didn't sign. They recently signed with Columbia, but they didn't sign with Columbia until they already had their enterprise built, and they were able to sign a lucrative deal with them where they didn't get control of anything except, distribution and publishing, and they only got like less than 50% of that. So they controlled their own destiny in waiting so long to sign, because what it is, man, a record label is not going to take a chance anymore. The days of taking a risk on a band are
Yeah.
over.
Or
They're only
no
gonna pick
artist,
somebody
no
up.
artist, period. It don't matter what genre.
No, that's right. And so the
Yeah.
days of guys like wildcatting,
Oh, signing you because you're just talented is over. It's over.
So is this other guy, and he's got his business already built. So
Yeah.
it's like they're just buying sure things.
But I look at 90s hip hop and I sort of don't blame them somewhat for that, because first of all, you got more artists making it on their own 2 feet. And then you had in the 90s, they were just signing everybody because
Yeah, it's
you spit a certain amount of bars, and 16 bars, we're signing you, and we put out an album, and they don't recoup. They don't go gold. You might sell 100,000 copies and you're on a major label. Yeah. And that's like not major label thinking. They want gold or platinum or better. So anything less than that it's not cutting it. Do you think you think the music business is better now today, or was better when the distribution actually had value?
It depends on how you look at it. I think that there's merit to both sides of that.
I do too.
I think that right now, with the streaming economy being what it is, the royalties money is weird right now.
It is.
But you also have more access to more people than ever in history.
You do.
You can get yourself in front of people. You can, if you grind, you can really get your stuff.
Even more than the distribution back in the days was giving you, because you still had to have the street team and radio to go along with that.
Who could afford
radio? Yeah, but major labels.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
it's still out to this day, really.
Yeah.
Do you
have
think
to get in there and claw your way in if you want to get on a syndicated radio station, for sure?
So you think artists go about it the wrong way of like trying to get the label as an investor, and instead of looking at a actual businessman who's not really into music
Yeah,
as an investor? Because I've
find
seen it
somebody
happen
in
for artists
marketing.
before, where they just get an investor out of nowhere. And even though the things didn't go right with the investor, he got what he got out of this lot of money that was thrown his way. I mean, it's a $20,000
Yeah,
video out of
that's a better
nowhere.
that's a
You
better
know,
situation to me. I
yeah,
think that the angel investors, like they call it,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
I call them
yeah.
sugar daddies. You can call it whatever you want.
Sugar daddies, I like that one.
But those guys are everywhere. There's fans of music that want to invest in it everywhere, and I think that that's a smarter strategy than
Yeah,
slanting yourself toward the labels, because all you're getting with the label really is someone that knows a good network, someone that's good at PR, and someone that's really good at marketing.
are they really good at PR nowadays, though?
Who knows what that even is anymore,
Like,
man?
dude, like
It's
you're
like you
right.
don't
Who
hire
knows what that is with
yeah,
internet companies? Like, I never call myself a PR company because, like, real PR is like you getting people out there doing real interviews, like not just this podcast,
no, like
hundreds of
Today
more.
Show, all day long, Savage
Interviews,
Rose.
magazines, all that. Nowadays they be like, I got you a few ball placements. I pitched you to some playlists,
Yeah,
got you on PR. I'm not naive to say, like, call myself PR. I like to call myself a music marketing and promotion company.
That's the most important thing you can do, though, is have good promotion and
Yeah.
someone that knows the avenues to help you get your music out to more people is the thing, because we all spend so much time learning how to do our craft at the highest level that we can, that a lot of us skip the marketing, and
Yeah.
it's everything, man. It's everything. I think the
I
music
stress
is
it.
40% of this thing.
Two parts to break it. Two parts: making music and breaking music. And most artists don't know the breaking music part, or do they care about it? They don't even care about it. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna make music, and everybody's supposed to like it.
They think that they're just going to like it automatically, and that's just not how it works.
No, it's not. It's not. It's
No
not, because
matter how good you are.
it's like a 10% rule, and it's actually less than that. It's usually it's 2 to 3%. I like to go off the 10% rule and whatnot. So we actually agree on a lot of things. Like, artists should just get an investor, and then even if you want to sign with a label after that, you and investor both. Your investor could get his chunk.
Then you don't need
And
their money, and so you
you don't need their money. They get their profit margin off of what they invested, get their percentage, and y'all go both ways happy.
Then you get to use their marketing and stuff without having to pay back $1 million of an advance that they gave you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's all that stuff is a loan, man.
Now, you said those guys, they make 400,000 you said week of merchandise?
Every 10 days.
Wouldn't you say merchandise is like the biggest aspect of an independent artist nowadays? It's even more important than the music.
It's the easiest way to monetize your brand. It's the most accepted way that we have.
Accepted way. That's the key word, accepted way. Because
that's the main thing. And if you want to tour, you have to sell T-shirts. Like, you have to sell merch. That's just the way it is.
And I've actually seen groups like Griselda. You familiar with Griselda? Mm-hmm. They've actually used the merch to make the music pop.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing. Like, don't more artists need to kind of do that too? Like, use the merch as the main thing that you're pushing, and then promote the music also behind that, and let the T-shirt sell your music. Yeah. And one hand washes the other too, because the music can sell the T-shirts, but I think the T-shirts can really sell your music more than the music can sell the T-shirts.
And you get a billboard out of every single person that wears one. Put your name on it. You know what I mean? Then somebody's gonna go, okay, who's that? What's on that shirt? And it's like someone's paying to advertise for you. It's great.
Yeah. So what's the future plans of your band? Like, new albums, new singles, or?
We got a bunch of new music. We're about to go into the studio and start hashing out the second record. We're going to be doing some touring later this year. We're just kind of setting up the logistics of all of that. So for now, we're just tightening everything up, making sure everybody's good, and getting out into our region. So that's what it is.
Okay, I'm looking at your album title, and I get it now. Solid Gold. Like, how'd y'all come up with that title, though?
It's a track. It's later on the album. There's a track called Solid Gold, and we thought that just summed the whole thing up really well. it's the worst sounding song on the record, but you know the meat and potatoes of the song is
At least you're honest.
yeah, oh yeah, man. I'm as objective as I can be with myself.
Okay, I'm looking at some of your song titles here. Finer Things, Tyrant. Tyrant, what's that about, man?
So
Yeah, what's Tyrant about?
that's our first single, and it's
Please tell me that's about Justin Trudeau.
yeah, I mean, it might as well be. If he has a narcissist living inside of him, then it is.
Okay, so you actually somewhat political in your music, though.
Yeah, I just try to examine the human condition, man.
Yeah.
Like, and politicians are just obnoxious humans. You know what I mean? So it's like
They are.
we can just look into ourselves and see a little bit of them if we look hard enough. So I've just
Like,
been, yeah.
are we naive to think that like politicians should be clean and these honest guys? Like, they literally, it's the dirtiest game, one of the dirtiest games there is. They throw mud at each other all day long, and we act like they're supposed to be clean. And then it's like people like me and you. I've never really actually gave money to a politician, but if I did, I'd be giving like $5 or $10.
Yeah,
I think I'm naive to think that my agenda is gonna come first before the guy who's gave 500,000 or 5 million or even 5,000 or 50,000. It's
that money is going to corrupt you. I don't care who you are. You know what I mean? You can hold out as long as you want to, but in my opinion, greed is more powerful than our notion to do good. So it's tough to be like that, but you know what you want is for them to hold on and to stay true to themselves. But it seems like it's impossible in that situation with that much power and money around you.
Is there any politician that you see out there today that you think might be honest?
Bro, Bernie was pretty dope.
It's funny you say that. I always said that, because they're always Republican and Democrat this. I said they need to just let Rand Paul and Bernie go at each other because this
at least we'll tell the truth.
Yeah, because Rand Paul is technically, if I'm not mistaken, a libertarian going as a Republican because libertarians don't get votes and nobody goes by libertarians.
Yeah.
And Bernie's a communist or socialist or whatever that is a Democrat, but really isn't a Democrat because nobody's really voting for what he does. And I even seen
kept him from getting elected in the whole thing. So it was like,
and I even seen in the UK where they used to have a communist party back in the days.
Yeah. And I'm not a communist by any measure, but I do
Me
think
neither.
we should have single payer healthcare, and I don't think that that's a crazy thing to say.
Is that a communist thing? What is that?
A socialist principle.
It's a socialist thing. Is there a difference between communist and socialism?
Yeah, so socialism is more like the government owns the means of like doing healthcare or doing universities and stuff like that.
Kind of like Canada with
exactly.
They got okay.
Yeah, Canada's a socialist country.
Okay, so they're still considered a socialist
social
country.
Security, you know what I mean?
So okay, yeah.
That's socialism. So I don't know.
Is it what you throw in the welfare things as well too?
Yeah. That's a government provision. That's a social program.
What I think they call them nowadays entitlement programs.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't really love the wording of that. You know what I mean? It's like
I don't either. I hate when they always add these words to things.
Try to make it a pejorative, and I don't like when people clown on different people for their hardship. You know what I mean?
Now, knowing a little bit more about communism and socialism, like the meanings, I can't figure out why the regular person would volunteer for this. I hear you hear what you hear from all these people coming from all these communist countries fleeing.
Yeah, they're fleeing.
And there's no other country nobody's fleeing to run to China, fleeing to run to Russia. You see Brittany Griner she's an anti-American and she was begging to get home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree she shouldn't have been locked up for what she was locked up because my stance on marijuana is it should be decriminalized and legalized. But she blatantly just said, hey, screw American laws, screw Russian laws. And she actually had to fly in between Russia and America.
And they knew
and had broke their laws as well.
Know that, yeah,
that
she was going to get leveraged if she did.
But I still can't see why the average person will volunteer for this.
I think it's something to do with indoctrination as you're being raised. So if you're raised around it, or else your environment, and some people are a lot more susceptible to it because they want to be accepted by someone, anyone, So sometimes you can just kind of fall into it that way. But I love this country. I think this is an incredible country, and I don't want to change it so drastically that we, lose our freedom. And I'm a patriot at the end of the day.
Well,
But
I think what people fail to
healthcare, like
realize,
bankrupting people, is ridiculous, dude.
I think what people fail to realize is we're like one of the youngest countries ever. We still don't know what it can be or and truly supposed to be. It's still like an experiment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like everything, like I think about before America, like there was no feminist movements super heavy like that. I mean, some of these countries were giving women like rights to vote, but like a lot of this
That was
stuff,
all recently, though.
yeah, feminist movements, transgender movements. I don't remember like civil rights going on in Europe like that before America. There's just this gender pay gap, it's in which has been like a myth. Like the worst explanation of the gender pay gap is the WNBA and NBA. I really hate when they like they're not really
that's not a fair comparison.
honest. They're not honest about it and whatnot.
Well, my thing with that is like you just look at a business to business model and figure out it's like people should be if people were paid based on merit, then it would make a lot of sense to me, but they're just not. They're paid based on how much money they have the potential to make for a company. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or what their usefulness is and stuff like that. And so I don't know, man. The way that we compare, one of my favorite quotes is from Theodore Roosevelt, and he said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And that's how I operate my life. I only compare myself to myself yesterday.
And you said that was from who?
Theodore Roosevelt.
It's funny you say that. He's my favorite president of all time because he went after the monopolies, and I wouldn't be self-employed today. He did something that truly benefits me today, you know. And I can't think of anything that a president has done that really affected me personally.
Your ability to make money, make your own living, and earn your own way, right?
And I love the story behind that because it backfired on like Rockefeller and Carnegie because they bought their little president. I think it was William McKinley.
Yep.
And he basically made Theodore Roosevelt the vice president because that's what politicians went to die back then. And the second term, he got assassinated by a regular common person because he wasn't for the people. He was for 5-6 billionaires or the monopoly owners. Yeah. And soon as Theodore Roosevelt came in, he
said, "Get out of here with that."
I mean, he went after them guys, man, and instantly.
He made it hard to overturn it too. He made it where Congress had to vote like a higher than majority vote to overturn.
And they said Rockefeller was on the like just traveling across the world the last years of his life, just trying to flee, going to court and whatnot. But I mean, he literally went after all of them, and yeah, if it wasn't for
a brave man to do that,
we'd really be a screwed country right now if he didn't do what he did.
It'd be just more advanced than it is now with the capitalism thing, And like I say, man, I'm a capitalist all the way, but like monopolies are bad news.
Monopolies are bad news. Okay, I'm glad you bring that up. Do you think there's actually legal monopolies going on when you look at a place like Facebook, who owns Facebook and Instagram?
Well, look at
and like what WeChat too now.
And so, like a monopoly to me doesn't mean the only business that exists in that.
That's what it used to be.
Right. That's what it used
to be. But
now
it's more like it's kind of like Google.
Market share that is unshakable. And that
like Google owns Google and YouTube, and nobody's going to compete with Google and YouTube on the search engine aspect. I mean, you got AOL and Yahoo and Bing, and they have no chance.
No, those are just advertising platforms at this point.
That's all they are. Nobody's really going to search on Bing.
No.
Nobody's going to YouTube. Nobody's going to AOL. They always go to Google. Now, let me ask you this. What's your take on something like TikTok for musicians?
I don't have it on my phone. You can call me paranoid or whatever, but like the U.S. government doesn't allow their employees to have it on their government devices.
So you're a U.S. government employee?
No, but I just think that if they don't allow them to have it, then they're probably taking a lot more data than you think. Like, in the terms and conditions in TikTok, it says that like every keystroke on your phone is logged and stored in there. And then, it's just a little too close to the Chinese government for me. But if you don't want to be tinfoil hat like me, like our band still has one, and I let them run it all, and that's fine. I don't care, but like I just don't want my stuff being taken advantage of, you know.
I agree with you 1,000%. This is the only problem I have. I've been doing promotion since the MySpace days.
And it's the best promotion aspect like that exists right now.
This is the thing I realized about TikTok that was so different. I remember only having like 100 followers and getting like 70,000 views in like 24 hours. When I was first trying to get on, I had a friend and a good mentor of mine. Shouts out to Chris Roker. Be like, yo, we need to learn TikTok. When he says we, he means me.
You.
So I get on there. I'm like, nah, man, this is some kiddie stuff. This is some kiddie stuff. I'm telling you, man, TikTok Triller. We need to learn it. It's a new thing for music promotion. So I'm like, all right, you saying it is, you're my friend, mentor. I got to listen to you. I give it a shot. I get my 70,000 views. I start scratching my head.
And try to repeat it.
Well, I actually had other videos get good traction, but they'll shadow ban you because I started getting political on there. And people are sensitive. But this is the one thing I realized about TikTok that is different from all other platforms. You cannot bot every single aspect of TikTok.
No.
You can't bot those dance challenges and stuff. Like you get into Instagram, you can bot every aspect, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
They're all faceless actions, right?
Yeah, any engagement you can think on there, you can bot. And that's why people are always like, you know, it's I ain't gonna lie, it's hard to know who's bots and what's not bots if you really don't know. Hard. If you really don't know, because even bot guys, that's the thing. There's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, and no matter what you're doing, even in the bot world, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And the right way is they can make it look gradual and organic.
Yeah, where somebody's stuff isn't getting taken down because of you, right?
Somebody's stuff isn't getting taken down, and you'll never really truly know. And I would argue, let me ask you this. What do you think the percentage of Spotify playlists are that are bots outside of Spotify's playlists?
Probably greater than 50%.
Greater than 50%.
And that's me being paranoid about it, but I mean,
I think you're underselling it.
Yeah, maybe so. Here's what
I think you're underselling
anything that any of them that have more than say 5,000 listeners, the percentage of those that are bought it is higher than 50%, probably.
You know why? And why do you think that is? I think I know why that is.
Because it's an easy way to jumpstart things from the beginning.
Yeah, but why do you think there's so many botted compared to like? Why does more than 50%? Like Apple Music's probably not more than 50%.
Well, yeah, and because Spotify makes it pretty social. You know what I mean? You
know what I think it is? Because playlisters don't have no influence.
No, they don't. That's fair.
And so I think they have no choice but to buy. Is really what I think it is.
And that's maybe a robbery of platform more than it is, you know, them not having any clout or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's the platform. No,
but
you're right. It's
the way that they're leveraged is not fair, really.
You're right. It's the platform that you can't engage. You know, if you can't engage with people, you can't really
have no relationship.
Yeah, you have no influence. And that's the thing Spotify still doesn't get. And that's why I think Spotify knows it. I think the music business knows it. Everybody knows it, but they really don't care.
And then they want to complain but not do nothing about it. It's like, okay, then. I mean,
well, I've heard the rumor that they actually make fake artist accounts to get royalty payouts.
I would believe it, man. I mean, I would absolutely believe that.
You know,
they take so much money. I mean, their CEO is $1 billion. And I'm not talking. I'm glad for the opportunity to have Spotify. But here's how I use Spotify, man. Spotify is a way to get people to my shows. I don't plan to make any money off of it.
Yeah.
I just use it to know where to book shows and know where to find my fans. You know what I mean? Because if you want to make money off of Spotify, then you're going to be a long time waiting.
It's just an extra thing to have. It's like it's not really the thing, and that's the thing I think most artists have a disconnect on. They're so caught on Spotify royalties, they don't understand that's not the place to build fans.
No, shows is the place.
Shows is still always going to be the number one spot for fan building.
And we used to book tours to promote an album, and now we release an album to promote tours. So it's all flip-flop because of the way that the royalties are paid now. You know what I mean? So
And it's so much easier to get the shows. I know a guy getting 80 to 100 shows every year out of Alabama, ex military. Shout out PB Pluto. But I like his formula how he does it because he gets his deposit. He puts that into advertising, and he advertised locally the show and everything. And what he does is he focuses on trying to get 4 local artists to pay him for a feature.
Yes. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah,
and get their fans to come to that show too.
So by the time he leaves, he got his second half of his deposit. He might sell some merch. Then he'll get 2 to 4 features, and he's charging $1,000 a feature.
And like you say, getting the overlap of the local artist fans to come in that he wouldn't have otherwise been able to connect with. And so he's got like so many different benefits of that model. I really like that model too.
Yeah, I do
it's
too.
Important to collaborate. I think anytime you can collaborate with other musicians and mix your fans together, like that's one of the best things you can do for your career.
Isn't that why you pay for features? When you pay for features, are you trying to tap into their fans?
Yeah, you're trying to get some of their fans to be your fans too. Because likely they will be if you're in the same genre. What's
your opinion about? I don't know if this is heavy in the rock business, but what's your opinion on like paying to open up for somebody like a Kings of Leon?
That used to be the only way to do it, man. Anymore, the labels and the bands get a lot more decisions in it than it used to be. But back in the day, like I've toured with plenty of bands that bought onto tours, and it was the only way to get your foot in the door back in the day.
Well, they said that's how Tech Nine bought onto the Insane Clown Posse tour.
I believe that. And that actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And when you talk about a fanatic of a tour,
that would have been insane.
That's a fanatic of a tour.
Yeah.
And isn't that why independent artists are so much like better than majors? Because their fans are actually fanatics.
Yeah. And
is it safe to say mainstream fans are not really fanatics?
There's like spoon-fed fanatics, man.
Yeah.
That's what I think of it as. Is like, they're mainstream fans. Like there's a lot of good music in the mainstream, and it's been crafted to be catchy and be really good. But I think that your most diehard fans are in your niches. So the best thing you can do is find your niche market, figure out what your subgenres are, and then find where those people exist on the internet or local shops, whatever, and promote yourself through those, because that's where you'll get people that give you actual engagement, as opposed to just getting somebody that listens to your song because it's on a playlist every once in a while,
Yeah.
You want somebody that will come to your show and buy some merch. Like that's your best fan.
We almost hit the hour mark. I'm gonna get a couple more questions. It's subgenres. I want to touch on that. Do you think every band should like have subgenres?
I think every artist should try to find a subgenre that they fit into.
Every artist, every genre, right?
Every artist. Hip hop has a million subgenres. You know what I mean?
They
might not be named as specifically as they are in rock and roll, but you can find people that talk about it in such a way where you can squeeze those subgenres out of it.
Hip hop seems less reluctant to tap into other subgenres. Like hip hop, they always seem like certain cats want to put their music in a box and act like they're selling out if they do certain things. Like Styles P did the Akon record, and he didn't really want to do it. But as a fan, I don't know any fan that was really disappointed.
No, it's impressive to see like how strong of a writing you can do. And you don't got to stay that way forever. Like we're always changing as artists. Our writing styles are going to change with our voice. So my thing with it is like, what it does is it allows you to segment your audience where you can make sense of your data and you can make sense of what you're trying to get to and who you're promoting to, so that you can get your copy right, so that you can get your branding right in general. You know what I mean? So
see, when I look at the subgenre right there, I think some people look at it like you might be disappointing the fans you already have, but I look at it, it's more like you're trying to tap into a whole nother set of fans.
Yeah.
And your fans that shouldn't really be upset at you tapping into the subgenre if they don't like the subgenre. Just focus on the music that I make in the genre that you like.
And they're going to be stoked that you're releasing music no matter what, man. If you're making excellent music, the style of it, can change. It doesn't matter as long as that excellence is there.
Do you think, what genre do you think has the most originality right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of like, hooligan rock, like some hooligan rock has been really cool. I've
What
been
is
listening.
that?
It's like British
Like British pop
hardcore,
rock or British hardcore rock
like
or something?
hardcore, but they're just like Idols. The band Idols is my favorite one right now, and they're pretty interesting because it kind of combines the spoken word elements of like hip hop and some of the vernacular of it too, with like rock and roll elements. So it's cool.
What's your take on heavy metal? I really can't get down with heavy metal.
That's a lot of notes for one song usually, but like I understand the appeal for some people. I understand the emotional pull of it. I just don't like how like inundated the whole thing is with notes sometimes, but
What
that's
do you
just my
mean
personal opinion.
inundated?
They're just like they try to squeeze a lot of notes, like
Oh,
fast
too
notes
much into
constantly.
it?
Yeah, and sometimes that can be a little distracting from the point for me. That's my opinion.
Maybe you could tell this for me, like a historical thing, like because I got a poster on my wall. The guy who they say invented heavy metal, Jimmy. Why is it? What happened? Where this shift came from? What Jimmy made and invented to this gothic? I'm painting my nails and roar.
Man,
Like, where did that shift come from?
I think that you can observe this in every genre. So, and we'll see it in hip hop too. In fact, you can already see it in hip hop a little bit when you start seeing, some of the different like digital genres that are happening with it. People just take things to the extreme, and so the longer something exists, the more extreme it will get at the
Okay,
outlier. You know what I mean? That's what I
okay,
think
that
it
makes
is.
sense. Because I always never understood that. Like, if Jimi Hendrix invented heavy metal,
Yeah, why
why
does it
is
sound like
nothing?
that?
Why is nothing today sound like anything he did?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, it's
and
just
also I
all
think
this.
digital recording changed the game too. You know what I mean? Because like back then he was
You
having to
talking
deal
about
with
from
the tape.
analog to
Yeah,
digital?
and being
They
able to
say that.
multi-track.
So you think that was the downfall of some things?
It was the evolution for sure.
Evolution, because a
Because
lot of people said that's what made RZA's beats not be as good no more. Is he was making these analog beats and then he went digital
yeah,
and
and it
Bobby
lost
Digital, and it just
some of that
wasn't.
thing.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. You lost that thing that made Wu Tang Wu Tang.
Well, to me, it's like he just switched tools. He switched
He
tools,
just
tool
switched
sets,
tools.
and he didn't know how to use the new tools the same way as his old ones. You know what I mean? So that's what I think it was.
He wasn't mastered in it yet. Anything you want to get say on the podcast? Get out the way
Uh,
or whatnot.
go follow Paul Pickett. You know what I mean? Go ahead and make sure that you follow Stunna online, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Okay, okay, and we could do another interview too. I actually never really did an interview with multiple people yet, so I
Well,
was kind of looking forward to.
yeah,
I was hoping you would have had that another band member on
we'll have to
actually
set that
today to
up.
do like a three-way screen kind
Yeah,
of thing
yeah.
because I never really did one of them.
They can remote in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
we'll
you
get
can
that.
send anybody the invite link. Every invite link is only unique to this specific episode,
Okay.
but you can send it to anybody and whatnot. And I think I could do up to about 10, 12 people. So
Okay.
I mean we could actually do
We could
all the
get
band
3 or 4 of
members,
us. Yeah.
yeah, at once. And you just let me know what your schedule's like and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Let's pop that next week if you're available, man.
We can make it happen, man.
All
We
right,
can
my
make it
guy.
happen, man. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on the Paul Pickett podcast, man.
Yeah.
Justin Logan, the band STUNNA, Oklahoma.
We'll see y'all later. Thanks,
All
man.
right, peace.
Peace.
You heard it. Interesting conversation. I've never really interviewed a rock band member or rock band at all. I've always been interested in the music making process of rock and roll and how somebody really get passionate about making music on guitars and things of that nature, because I knew it always had to be a discipline. It's not so much a discipline in hip hop and rapping as it is. Now DJing is more of a discipline, it's more of an art, and producing and things of that nature. But it's not even really that much of a discipline like playing guitars and instruments, man. Like, cause everybody starts out like crap. Everybody starts out like crap. And process is longer than others to get good and better, and some don't even get good or better. But yeah, check next week. We're gonna try to have the whole band on. Listen to them at stunnaband.com. Follow them on Instagram. You see it scrolling below. Thank you for tuning in, Paul Pickett Podcast, and I'm out.